What's up, y'all? It is Nerd Talk. We're back with another OVR. Today we are doing Death Wish. I am AJ Reacts 2, and I'm joined with my co-host Mind of a Nerd, aka Tyler. And we're about to get into this thing. I saw some movie. I can't even remember what I saw, but I was seeing some movie, and I saw a trailer to Death Wish, the 2018 version, and I was like, okay, that seems pretty cool. It's got Bruce Willis in it. It looked like a revenge flick. So I was like, okay, seems cool. And then somebody told me that it is actually a remake of a older film, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And we haven't done a whole lot of action films for our OVRs, so I kind of wanted to, add this into the collection and to the, things that we talk about. So we're gonna get into this thing. You got anything to say before we get into it?
No.
Death Wish 1974. It is directed by Michael Winner, and it stars Charles Brosnan, some other folks, and surprisingly enough, Jeff Goldblum. I did not know this man was in this before
And his very
we
first
watched it. I guess this is his very first role. I did not realize that he was in this film. And the description is a New York City architect becomes a one-man vigilante squad after his wife is murdered and his daughter is put into a vegetative state. And in defense, the vengeful man kills muggers on the street. Okay, I'm gonna get this out of the way real quick. I did not care for this movie. Not because it has absolutely nothing to offer, but there are a lot of things in it that make me like it just doesn't feel like it follows up on a lot of things that are set up in the film. Let's start with the story. The story in the setup is actually really cool. Like it starts off like a revenge film, and we get the set of characters that we see that they're a family, and the mom and the daughter get attacked in their home, which is kind of weird because it is a grocery delivery service that these thugs are saying that they are, and they break in, attack the mom and the daughter. The dad isn't there, and it doesn't really seem like what happens. And what I mean by that is there is something that happens with the mom. She dies, and it doesn't seem like that to me. It doesn't seem like they rough her up enough to where she dies. And then there is attack with the daughter too. First of all, I didn't even realize that they were mother and daughter when I first saw this. I thought they were like two friends or something because they looked about the same age. Nevertheless, so that happens, and in return, Paul is, I guess he's distraught that his, wife and daughter are, have gotten attacked and things like that. So he starts going on a spree of sorts. First of all, I know that this actor is, well known and, loved by many. I did not care for this actor. I don't know if it was the direction that was taken with the actor or the actor's delivery himself. Charles Brosnan, he did not deliver to me. Like when there were many times where it was supposed to be an emotional scene where he was supposed to be, distraught, and this person that lost his two loved ones, it just did not come across that way to me, especially like with his body language, facial expressions. It just did not come across that way. He also has a son-in-law that is a character in this movie that he talks to and, confides in some. I feel like this character doesn't really do much. Like they do have conversations here and there, but he doesn't really add much to the story. And then there comes the vigilante part of the movie. Look, I don't hate, vigilantism and things like that. I don't hate that in movies, but I gotta feel your plight. I gotta feel your motive. Yes, the motive is there. We saw it happen, but we don't feel it from this character. Like first of all, he gets robbed like 15 times in this movie, and it does not make sense. I'm like, why is he getting mugged? Like this one person getting robbed multiple times. But I think even there are sequences where he provokes criminals too to make them like try to stand him up and try to rob him, and then he shoots them in the middle of the street at night, I guess. But like nobody's seeing this, nobody's catching him. Like he's not really being sneaky. He doesn't have any disguise, anything. I don't quite understand that. But I don't feel like there was much character depth. Yes, we had, this heartbreaking and terrible thing that happened, but I feel like we should have dove into more emotional elements. Also, the son-in-law and the dad himself, I feel like we should have dove into different layers of their emotions within this movie. I just feel like none of it was there with either one of them, really. Even I mean, I felt more from the son-in-law than the dad. So the characters, I feel like there's not many here, but the ones that we had were kind of poorly dealt with. It's shot fine. The movie is shot fine. It's a 70s film. And, it feels like a 70s film. And it looks fine. I didn't have any issues with how the film looked or, anything like that. That's basically, how I felt about the movie. Didn't love it. There are a few things to offer. I like the setup, but I wish there was more to it, man.
Yeah, so I heard first about Death Wish with the remake. I didn't even know there was an original, let alone 5 of these things. Nor did I know that Charles Bronson was like a, high tier action star regarded anyway.
Yeah, people love
So,
him.
when I think it was more baffling that I found out there were 5 of these things. So watching this original movie, I appreciated it a lot. It's just it's not the kind of action movie I'd go back to. Now the concept is certainly my thing, but like it's kind of got this grindhouse nastiness to it. So like the scene where the mom, I guess, bites it, um, it reminded me a lot of one of the incidents in A Clockwork Orange. If you guys have seen that movie, you know more than likely the scene that I'm talking about. Um, it reminded me a lot of that, and the story overall kind of reminded me of The Crow, which I didn't put together until like 5 minutes ago. I was like, hey, it's kind of like The Crow. Um, but the movie I thought was fine. I like Charles Bronson in the role. I thought he did okay. Um, and I like the setup a lot. My issue does lie with the fact that one, it doesn't feel like he's going after who did it. It's more or less, I'm gonna stop crime, and it's like, but I don't care about you stopping crime. I care about you getting revenge for who did this to you, of which he doesn't even do. So it's kind of like, all right, it's not really a revenge thriller. It's more or less he becomes Batman. Only he kills people, I guess. Um, I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird, and so because of that, because of the fact that he's not looking for anybody specific, it just kind of makes it look like he's a guy going around New York shooting people.
That's
Cause
exactly what it is. That's exactly what it
it's like,
is.
sure, they're bad people, but like, why do I care that they're dying? I mean,
But
again,
also
they're
he's
bad people, but
yeah. But
why do
also
I
he's
care that they're
provoking
dying?
them too.
Well,
That's,
yeah, I don't know. I found that weird. I was like, why do I care? Like, he's not going after the specific people. I get why he's doing it, but what he's doing was weird to me. That was really like my big overarching issue with it. Um, to me, it's an old school action movie with old school action filmmaking. It, like I say, it's not one that I would go back to. It, I could put this in the vein of like Dirty Harry and stuff like that, but I think Dirty Harry is way better than this.
way better.
Dirty Harry is fire. I thought it was okay for what it was. It didn't offend me. I was like, yeah, it's fine. That's kind of how I felt about it. It didn't necessarily piss me off. I was just kind of like, when it ended, I was like, it was okay. I've seen way worse. Way worse. Believe me.
Moving on to Death Wish 2018. This film is directed by the one and only Eli Roth, which honestly, when I decided to do this on the OVR, I did not realize that Eli Roth directed this film. I found that out later. And it stars Bruce Willis, Vincent D'Onofrio, and it actually has Mike Epps in this movie. I said,
Who's like
I was like, "What? This man is in this movie?" And a few more people. Also, Dean Norris. That's another person I want to talk about. That it is Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad. He's the detective in Breaking Bad. And this story follows Dr. Paul Kersey. He is a surgeon here, and he spent his life saving lives. After an attack on his family, Paul embarks on his own mission for justice. This movie is a lot better to me. I think it follows the revenge thriller action film, the structure a lot better. Um, it has that setup, the incident happens, and then we get this revenge. Yes, he does do his vigilante thing here and there, but it's ultimately about getting the people that attacked his family. That is solely what this movie encapsulates, and that makes sense for a revenge thriller. And Bruce Willis here, he's good. I wouldn't say this is his best performance or anything, but he's good. The action in this movie and the kills, we'll get into the differences between the two, but I do like the action here. Like, it is clear, concise. It is kind of insane. Some of the kills are insane, and they just are a lot more entertaining. The film is a lot more entertaining to me. We had this stretch towards the beginning of the movie before the incident happened that was like, the setup was a little slow. I think mainly because we knew what was going to happen, and we're like, kind of, let's get to it. But that's part of it. So the beginning was a little slow, the incident happened, and then pretty much from there to the end of the movie, it was kind of nonstop. Yes, he's not familiar with guns and weapons and stuff like that, so they kind of show him learning about it, YouTubing YouTubing how to use different guns and stuff like that, which I thought was kind of funny, kind of a nice touch. The tone here is a little interesting. Yes, we have this tragic thing that happens, but the theme is Back in Black by AC/DC. It kind of like felt like it was cool, but it kind of felt like, okay, is the tone a little weird? Like, it doesn't seem like that would be the song to have in this revenge thriller, but nevertheless, I think it's shot well. The cinematography was well done, in my opinion. I think the technical aspects were great, and the action and the kills, I think they looked great. It wasn't like CGI blood. I enjoyed the action and the technical aspects a lot. The story I enjoyed too. I think personally there's one character that I feel like could have done more, which is Vincent D'Onofrio's character, which is Paul's brother. I think he could have done a little bit more, had a little bit more to do, a little bit more depth. I actually was thinking that he was not to be trusted up until the end, where we see what happens. But I was thinking that he might have been behind some things. It does, have you suspend your disbelief a little bit, but it's a action it's an action thriller. So it's kind of typical for those types of movies. I enjoyed this movie. I liked it. So, what did you think of Death Wish 2018?
So I kind of stood away from this movie for a while because I remember when it came out, everyone was like, "This is terrible." Which I kind of wrote it off as it's a 2018 action movie with Bruce Willis in it. Why does this surprise anybody? And then I remember Cody Leach, he was doing his Blu-ray collection video, and he got to this movie and he was like, yeah, everyone hates this movie. I kind of love it. I was like, It's like, really? You're the only person I heard say that. When AJ said, let's do this OVR sale, it's like, I finally got to watch this movie, Lord. Um, and so when I watched it, I didn't have low expectations, but I was kind of just like, all right, let's watch it. And it's directed by Eli Roth, which pressing play on any Eli Roth movie is like, oh,
It's an
Lord.
adventure.
Yeah. While I do think it's funny, this is one of his lesser Eli Roth ism filled movies.
I
I
agree.
kind of wish it had more of that, but I'll talk about it in a second.
Mm.
I thought the movie was cool. It was a lot of fun. I do think it was a little too long. I think it pushing an hour and near 2 hours. I was like, ugh. I think we could have cut it down like 15 minutes. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed Bruce Willis in the role. It's funny. I was thinking to myself watching the movie. I was like, if they made this movie in his prime, this movie would have been awesome. But at the same time, looking at the way the movie is, I'm like, no, I think it works with him being old Bruce Willis. I don't know. But at the same time, I would pay to see a remake of Death Wish with him in his prime. That would be raw. The story to me is a lot better. It makes more sense. The story changes they made make sense. I really like Vincent D'Onofrio. Always like seeing Vincent D'Onofrio and things. It's shot well. The action is brutal. I wish it was more brutal, but it's brutal. Some of the kills are hilarious. There's one involving a carjack that is glorious, and it's stuff like that
This one. Hmm.
when I pressed play on it and knew it was directed by Eli Roth, I was expecting the violence to be more, violent. And
Hmm.
that, like, the carjack kill, that's what I wanted the rest of the kills. Like, there's one that kind of happens because of a bowling ball
The bowling ball.
that I I was really hoping for something to happen with the bowling ball, and it didn't. And then
Hmm.
when the scene ended, I was like, oh, okay. You had an opportunity to have something really cool happen, but okay.
Yeah.
Um, but it's one of Eli Roth's more tame movies, and I oddly enjoy that because this man, when he is Eli Rothing, oh, he is Eli Rothing. Yeah, it was a cool little action movie, and it was non-offensive, and it's probably the last really good Bruce Willis movie we got. So, well, I no, because he did Glass. He was good in Glass, even if Glass is ass. Um, yeah,
You had
I
to
like
do
this
it.
movie.
You had to do it, did you?
Yeah. Death Wish. It was good. I liked it.
Moving on to similarities. This movie is the setup is the same. We have a incident that occurs with the wife and the daughter, and basically the same things happen. The mom dies and the daughter gets put into a coma. Now, the results of that is a little different. We'll talk about that and differences. But um, yeah, it's basically the setup is basically the same. Um, then we have the Paul as this vigilante killer, and he goes onto the street and kills people and kills criminals and stuff like that. And the both times the detectives and cops on the case are complete idiots. They are not worth anything because they cannot find this man. They can't do their jobs right. So that's another similarity from both films. Um, Instead of the son-in-law in the original, it is the brother, his brother, that he kind of confides in the remake. So that's those are differences, but he does have someone that he confides in, a character that he confides in both movies.
This isn't that much of a thing, but they both do that. This goofy finger point thing
At
at the
at
end.
the end, yeah, I think the original worked better with that
It did.
than.
I laughed so hard at the end of the remake. I said, "All right, bro."
I think I think the issue with it though, I think the issue with it is that you could tell that they were doing the thing, like, oh, we got to have them do the thing at the end.
But it was just
Uh,
so funny, and it came out of no. I was like, "What?" It's like, and
Yes.
then if you're the dude stealing whatever he was stealing at the end, what do you do with that information? You see this 60 some old man doing a finger point emote at you, like, eh, cool. I'm gonna keep
All
stealing
right.
my thing.
All right.
Like,
Uh,
all right.
yeah.
I don't know. It was
So
goofy.
I think those are all the similarities. Now there are a lot of differences. I guess we'll start by talking about the setup. So yes, the setup it's similar. It has a lot of the same beats, but there is a stretch of time, but in the original between the attack and him getting the gun and going on this vigilante spree in the remake there's not really that much time in between that. He basically gets right to it and does starts doing this thing. Is it is it kind of gradual? Yes, because he's not that familiar with weapons and things like that. So we kind of see him mess up his vigilanteism, like he gets shot in the hand or something like that. And but in the original there's just like this long stretch of time where he's just walking around talking, doing his architect thing. Um and it's just kind of baffling to me, like what when I was watching I was like, what are we doing? We're just like kind of walking around talking, like let's get to it. You know what I'm saying?
I think
um
the thing with that is it's one of the differences I like is he he says it very blatantly, but he's like, "Oh, I'm trying to keep busy," and we see him, living through his everyday life and stuff. And I get it; it's not the most interesting thing in the world, but I was kind of like, "Yeah, I like that," and I do like when eventually when he does start killing everybody. You see his mood change, and his son-in-law's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "Nothing. What you want me to do? Stand around and mope all day and be miserable?" Like that I kind of did like that. I was like, yeah, you see the shift, from the movie. So I did like
yeah,
that.
I did pick up on that too, where he kind of was like in a better mood once he started his vigilanteism. I think that was kind of a downfall, honestly, because I already didn't feel that he felt strongly enough about his people getting attacked. And then there's that where he's kind of like in a good mood, he's chipper and things like that, and I'm like, I want to see more emotion. I could see if he did that, and then there was a point where he just kind of broke down, and like we saw those emotions, he was like kind of trying to hide them to move on. I guess that would be more interesting to me than just, oh, my people died, or my wife died, and you know I'm doing this thing, and I'm just like, okay. But anyway, another difference. Oh, I did mention that he was an architect in the original, and he is a surgeon in the remake, and I think that works way better.
Yeah, it does.
Because mainly because he kind of uses his you know knowledge of surgery and of medicine to for some of his kills, which is like very interesting. Like when you were discussing the carjack kill, he like splits his guy's I think it's his leg. He splits it open and like
Yeah.
puts brake fluid or something, and then shoots him with some kind of fluid. um and you could see earlier in the movie where he's packing some fluids up in his bag at the hospital, so like that is stuff that he's taking from the hospital. um but yeah, I think him utilizing the surgeon and medicine is very interesting, to incorporate in his kills. um I also kind of like how there's another difference where Paul in the original, he has this gun in this case or whatever, and I guess it's hasn't been used in a while. He hasn't used it in a while, but in the remake, they kind of make a joke of it a little bit. But he walks into a gun store, and they're like, oh, what can we get you? And he's like, I need a gun. And they're like, oh yeah, we got this, and this, and like that. Just like, yo. And then he was like, this is pretty easy to get a gun. He was like, oh yeah, all you have to do is this, and this. And I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. And I think it's kind of like a commentary on gun violence and stuff, but kind of making a joke. Of course, Eli Roth would do that, uh, but anyway, this that's a difference. Their occupation and things like that. I think that's a huge difference and served the story very well in the remake. Some more differences. Oh, the daughter. Um, so she wakes up towards the middle slash end of the movie on both, but in the original, she wakes up in a vegetative state where
Oh
she's
Jesus Christ!
basically brain dead. She's
That
basically
was
brain dead,
that
but
was so
she can,
ridiculous.
but she can also walk,
I
which
I
is so weird.
I don't even know what that was. At a point, I gave up trying to figure out what was wrong with that woman. I was like, brother, at this point, you're better off dead because you ain't serving the plot nothing, bro. So what are you doing, bro?
It's
At
like,
least with the daughter in the remake, it made exact sense what was happening, bro. Every time they
yes,
cut back to her, I'm like, what?
yes, exactly. And it just felt really weird. It's another thing about the original that I didn't care for, but yeah, I think they kind of made it right in the remake where she comes out of the coma and she's, she knows what's happening. She's aware, and the last thing that she knew, her mom was alive, and she's kind of learning about her mom's death right then as soon as she wakes up, which is, I was, I don't know, that tugged on my heartstrings. I was like, dang, that's tough.
Yeah,
um
that was a good scene.
but yeah, she was like, where's mom? And I'm like, yo, that, yeah, you would be like that. In the original, most of the things happen in like either the street, alleyways, subway stations, things like that. So like out and about. But in the remake, there are a lot of different locations that Paul goes to. So he goes like to the bar, he goes to um like we said, the mechanic shop. um there's this whole scene in the bar that's kind of crazy. And he and that's another difference. He uses different weapons as well sometimes. Like he will use a gun primarily, but like he uses different weapons sometimes too. So like he used a dart on this dude's hand. I was like, ooh. And then when he was in the back of the bar, he like grabbed this guitar and smacked the dude with it too. I was like, yo, okay. Um, the carjack, that whole thing,
One of the
differences.
differences is that he actually goes after the people that killed
Yes,
his wife and attempted to kill his daughter. That's
yes,
one of the biggest differences that I think
yes,
works.
yes.
And the third act is also very different too.
Hmm.
For one, I enjoyed the hell out of the third act. I did think it like ended really quickly. I was like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I knew they weren't gonna pull like John Wick 4, where like just waves and waves of people kept coming in because it's like, brother, this is 65-year-old Bruce Willis. Come on. But I did find it funny when he kills the dude and the dude walks in. He's on the floor, and it looks like
Yes, you see,
his gun was on the floor,
yeah,
and you just think,
you see
I
his
was
hand
like,
coming
that's
up.
hilarious.
Yeah,
I was like, that's kind of funny. Um,
yeah,
there's another difference, but I it escaped.
yeah. I had one too, and it escaped me too. I think this movie is just, it's vastly different. Yes, it has the same, um, setup and things like that, and the same initial attack, but like the things play out so much differently and so much better. One of the biggest differences for me is, yes, there, he goes after the people that attacked his family, but also I feel like there's more emotion here. There's like more emotional depth, even though, like I said earlier, this isn't Bruce Willis's best film. I'm not gonna sit here and say that, but it is more emotional depth here. The attackers aren't just some random people that followed some people to the house. It was revealed later in the movie that it was very meticulous how these people got into their house. It was like this character that they met earlier in the movie, and he overheard them say that they're gonna be at the house at this time, and Paul wasn't gonna be there, and the guy overheard him, and he took their car and took a picture of their location or something like that. So that was revealed, and I thought that was way better than just some random people coming into the house disguised as grocery delivery men. So if we don't have any more differences, we can get on to the definitive version. I think you guys know from how I've been talking what my definitive version is. It is going to be the remake. I actually really enjoy the remake. Is it perfect? Is it high art? No, it's a revenge thriller. It's fun, so it's the remake for me.
Yeah, I'm going with the remake too, but I didn't hate the original. I respect it. It is one of the first revenge action thrillers, and without it, we wouldn't have movies like John Wick or The Crow. So and Taken. So I respect it in that aspect. But the remake to me is one that I would watch just because it's more fun and it has a more of a likability factor to it. The original kind of has a grindhouse nastiness to it, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't need that much misery in my life. In my action movies, anyway, I don't need
Right,
that.
right.
But yeah, the remake is my preferred version.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So that'll do it for OVR. This time it was Death Wish. It was fun to do. I enjoyed watching both, even though I didn't love the first one. I enjoyed comparing them. Yeah, we're going to get out of here. We do have another OVR coming next month, and we'll let you guys know about that shortly. And yeah, we're going to get out of here. So thanks and peace.